Right, Shalom, Ka Halayim La
Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rucha Kodash.
Double honor to the apostles and elders, the great millstone that rule well, laboring the word and doctrine. Shalom and in peace. May that be unto the elect of the nation of Israel. With the Hebrew Israelites coming once again to prophesy the return of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, and the downfall of this wicked man's wicked kingdom. So we've got some news articles to hit. We'll filter them through the scriptures. Lord willing, it be edifying.
This is from endtimeheadlines.org, which is from December the 20th, 2022, the year of Yahweh Hashem Yahshai turning up. And the headline reads, large quake on California coast came 24 hours after ominous warning from news publication. It goes on to read, this wasn't the big one, but hopefully it will serve as a wake-up call for millions of California residents. The magnitude 6.4 earthquake that just struck Northern California killed 2 people and caused quite a bit of damage. But scientists have been persistently warning us that someday a massive earthquake will hit the region that will be absolutely catastrophic. In fact, just one day before the magnitude 6.4 earthquake hit Northern California, we were specifically warned that someday a very large quake in Northern California could cause thousands of deaths and billions of dollars in damage. The following was posted by the Daily Mail on December the 19th. Seismologists say San Francisco is due a devastating earthquake in the not too distant future, potentially causing thousands of deaths and billions of dollars in damage. The United States Geological Survey predicts there's a 51% chance of a magnitude 7 quake hitting within the next 2 decades, releasing energy equivalent to around 1,000 atomic bombs. A quake of that magnitude could ruin buildings, shut off electricity and vital communications and cause huge wildfires, according to government modelling. So it's just a coincidence that a magnitude 6.4 earthquake struck the region just one day later. Maybe, according to Fox News, the quake had just hit Humboldt County, caused substantial damage to roads and homes. The Humboldt County Sheriff's Office warned in an alert of widespread damages to roads and homes, reported throughout the county after a magnitude 6.4 earthquake shook the Northern California coast early Tuesday morning. Due to a large earthquake, widespread damages to roads and homes are reported throughout Humboldt County. Be prepared for aftershocks. Check gas and water lines for damage or leaks. Exercise caution if travelling, it said in a tweet. This is the largest earthquake that the state has experienced in quite a while. And one local resident says that the shaking lasted for about 15 to 20 seconds. Jimmy Eller, who claims to live in the county, tweeted the earthquake was insane, a good 15 to 20 seconds of shaking. Yeah, and that's it on that article.
Matthew chapter 24 and verse 6, start at verse 4. And Yahweh answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am HaMashiach, or I am the anointed, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumours of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. So, he's been given certain powers to be able to detect it, and prognosticate, to say before, have foreknowledge, but it's already been told, maybe not to that degree of accuracy, but it's already been told there's going to be an earthquake here, an earthquake there. There's going to be wars, rumours of wars, all these things we're seeing. People want the scriptures to say something like, well, there's going to be a guy called Putin, he's going to invade. They want it down to that level of accuracy. Now, certain prophecies have, been very, very specific, but certain prophecies are more general, but you're still seeing it come to pass upon the earth.
That's right. This devil, he has power over the prince of the air, okay? He tries to manipulate weather, things of that nature, and stuff like that,
And they even were saying, oh, no, there's no such thing as weather editing. There's nothing like that. And then they come out and say, well, to protect against global warming, they're spraying certain things to minimize any damages. So first they'll demonize you for saying that they are doing that. As the God of this world has blinded the eyes of many. And then they'll come out and they'll tell you, well, yeah, we were doing that. So what does that mean for all the so-called conspiracy theorists, or people that would demonize, made out, oh, you're a bug out, you believe that? And then they'll come out and they'll tell you, yeah, well, yeah, we actually were doing that. And so this devil is a devil. This is Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Hamashiach. And they like to throw around that word science, as in that knowledge, that their religious system, it has preeminence over the scriptures. But really, science means knowledge. And in the scripture, it talks about being aware, beware of science falsely so called. So knowledge is falsely so called. It's not true knowledge. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither the counsel of sinners at any time prudence.
Psalm 66, verse 5. Come and see the works of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. He is terrible in his doing toward the children of men. He turned the sea into dry land. They went through the flood on foot. There did we rejoice in him. That's right. So, the Lord, he's the one responsible for all these, natural disasters, your earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, you name it. All right. Ultimately, it comes from him, and that's how he visits the earth, through his judgments. Okay.
Even through judgments of people, if a person bugs out and does murder someone, the Lord's in control of that.
That's right, because the Spirit's great for vengeance,
There is. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. He turneth it with the sword of evil. This is Job chapter 33, starting at verse 14. For the Most High speaketh once, yea twice, yet man perceiveth it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, in slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose, and hide pride from man. He keepeth back his soul from the pit, and his life from perishing by the sword. There's certain ones he'll preserve his elect, and more specifically, the Israel, more specifically, the elect, because you have Israel, which is the elect nation, but then you have a creme de la creme, an elect of the elect. But the same goes for the other side. If someone's meant to perish, if someone's meant to pass, they'll make sure that that's carried out. This is Isaiah 45 and verse 7. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahweh, do all these things. Now that's why we say it's the Lord's seed. Because although the Lord didn't make it on the earth, he didn't come down as a man and make it. He put a wicked man to create it, that he may use it as a stumbling block to wipe out them that are not believing, and to also wreak that havoc, order out of chaos. Even when there's chaos on the earth, the Lord did, order comes out of it. Even if the elites think that they're moving it, the hand of the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord.
Here's another article from endtimeheadlines.org, and the headline reads, Texas superintendent ordered school librarians to remove alphabet books, prompting federal government investigation, dated 20th of December this year. The U.S. Education Department's Civil Rights Enforcement arm has launched an investigation into a North Texas school district whose superintendent was secretly recorded ordering librarians to remove alphabet-themed library books. Education and legal experts say the federal probe of the Granbury Independent School District, which stemmed from a complaint by the American Civil Liberties Union of Texas and reported by NBC News, ProPublica, and the Texas Tribune, appears to be the first such investigation explicitly tied to the nationwide movement to ban school library books dealing with sexuality and gender. The Education Department's Office for Civil Rights notified Granbury School officials on December 6 that it had opened the investigation following a July complaint by the ACLU, which accused the district of violating a federal law that prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender. The ACLU complaint was based largely on an investigation published in March by NBC News, ProPublica, and the Tribune that revealed that Granbury Superintendent Jeremy Glenn instructed librarians to remove books dealing with sexual orientation and people who are transformers. Later in the meeting, Glenn clarified that he was specifically focused on removing books geared towards
funny man business.
That's right. It's the Transformers alphabet and the
disguise.
That's right. In the books, he said, according to the recording, the comments combined with the district's subsequent decision to remove dozens of library books pending a review fostered a pervasively hostile environment for alphabet students. The ACLU wrote in its complaint, Chloe Kemp, an ACLU attorney, said the Education Department's decision to open the investigation into Granbury ISD signals that the agency is concerned about what she described as a wave of anti-alphabet policies and book removals nationally. In this case,
where they can remove the scriptures. You know, these are the same people that tell you, no, then you're not a man, you're not a woman until you're 21. You know, you shouldn't really learn. We shouldn't push creationism. We shouldn't push a belief in a God to children, so-called children. You know, which really, you become an adult, you become moving towards a grown-up at the age of puberty. But they'll tell you don't, and it's damaging to teach children, you know, even above the age of 12, about a God, about creationism. It's pushing an ideology on them. You can teach them that they can completely change what the Most High made them, you know, physically. They're allowed to physically. You know, it's actually pushed on them, hormones and all that. But, you know, Lord forbid you would teach the scriptures to them. But you can have all this literature, all this folly. You know, why is that? Because this man has got his wine, the bottle to every man's lip, all these nations' lips. Revelation 11 and 8, and their bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Okay, so Sodom, you can tell why, because of the article. And Egypt, that's where we went into bondage. Also takes a lot of iconography from Egypt. Look at the dollar. You got pyramids.
I'll see an eye on there. Nova Sordo Seclorum, New World Order in Latin. If that doesn't tell you, you know what will.
And also they exerciseth all the power of the first beast. Why would they have it in Latin? What does America have to do with Latin or Rome? Well, it's Rome again. And when you go into the word, I think it's Americum or Americo, it means bitter.
Yeah.
Right, in Latin. And America will have a bitter end. You know, wormwood. It will have a bitter end. Came in bitter, it's going out bitter.
That's right. Isaiah.
As a man sowed, actually reap.
Precisely. Isaiah chapter 10 verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that write grievousness which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, that they may rob the fatherless. Right? And, you know, this devil does push out, you know, draconian laws and righteous, you know, decrees. Okay? Just like with, you know, removal of those books.
You know, why would someone be demonized? First off, why would they be there in the first place? You know, but if America's meant to be a Christian country, a religious, and them lot in Texas, the Bible Belt, you know, they don't play, man. A lot of them would be jakes. You know, the fervency they have for the scriptures. Maybe they're not on the correct doctrine, but the fact that they're going into, for example, Leviticus, you can't go wrong. If you're saying that's off, that's a sin, you can't go wrong. You know, we'll support that, whoever says it. You know, if it's correct, it is correct. That's right. There's no respect to persons. Even a worldly heathen, if they come out with some random, you know, comment, it turns out to be the truth, or it's, you know, has a biblical foundation, so be it, that's the truth, man.
That's right. You know, and America likes to, you know, brag about that they've got, you know, strong Christian values. Alright? But they swear on the Bible, alright, and do nothing that the Bible commands. Yet they just have it there as a front, you know.
It's a prop, it's nothing but a prop, especially in the Negro church, man. Singing, dancing, no scriptures, no prophecy, more importantly, hit. You know, just keeping our people docile in a completely bugged out state. And ironically, like the brother said, they'll swear in the scriptures. Well, in the scripture it says don't swear. You know, not to say a harsh language or a cuss word, so-called, but to make an oath. You know, swear not at all, neither by heaven, you know, because it's the Lord's. I can't remember how it says it verbatim, but neither by heaven, neither by earth. You know, so how are you going to swear when in the book it says don't swear? You know, that is like E in a nutshell. You know, he will take the scriptures, do something completely contrary to it, and then again hold up the scriptures. You know, and people, because they don't go into it, because they've been taught, we've been conditioned, brain dirty. You know, because brainwash, if your brain's washed, that sounds good. Who wants a dirty brain? So when your brain's dirty with Babylon's philosophy, then you'll begin to see. You know, think like them.
We got more red pill, blue pill, you know, individuals coming out.
And that polarization and complete contrast in doctrines, ideologies. It's going to be increased, especially in a time of want, a time of lack, which we're going into famines. Not only the famine of the word, but a physical famine, is coming back. So when that's, people's tensions, people tend to have a lot less compassion with someone they disagree with in the world. When you see them debates, they'll turn into ad hominems, personal attacks, a lot more, especially on the internet. People have become desensitized to, aggression online. Half of the shit people say online, they wouldn't say it either in the same way, or they wouldn't say it at all in person, because there's always that threat of someone, bugging out and hitting you.
That's right.
But that polarization will play into a lot of contention, a lot of strife between men.
Back to the article. The comments combined with the district's subsequent decision to remove dozens of library books pending a review fostered a pervasively hostile environment for alphabet students. The ACL wrote in its complaint that the Education Department's decision to open the investigation into Granbury ISD signals that the agency is concerned about what she described as a wave of anti, policies and book removals nationally. An Education Department spokesperson confirmed the investigation and said it was related to the Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972, which prohibits schools from discriminating on the basis of sex, gender and sexual orientation. The Office for Civil Rights doesn't comment on pending investigations, the spokesperson said.
That's interesting. They said sex. What was it? Sex, gender and sexual
And
orientation.
Yeah, exactly that.
We didn't say race. Which you find, being of a alphabetic persuasion is the new black, so-called. They use that as this is a civil right. They try to a lot of the time compare it to Jake's struggle. How Jake was catching hell. They never caught anything as much hell, as Jake. With the water cannons, dogs setting on, being violence, economically castrated. We can't even begin to list all the atrocities that's happened to Jake, both northern and southern kingdom in Babylon. But you have this new, anti this, anti that. The new one is not anti-Shem, but the new one is anti-bacon, lettuce, tomato, BLT, if you know what I mean by that. So they push it. And the fact it's a federal investigation, it shows you how seriously they uphold this wine, which wine represents a doctrine. So they push out their doctrine by force, by violence. That's why a lot of the Islamic countries, they don't want anything to do with this man. That's why they'll fight so fervently for their culture, because they've seen exactly what happens. Bare funny man, bare whorish behavior, weak men. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And so we were told that there was going to be a place, spiritually Sodom and Egypt, and every day, you're seeing how much they fight for this doctrine, man.
That's right. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. Let's talk about Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Alright, but the just, right, which is the elect, shall live by his faith. Verse 5, yet also because he transgresseth by wine, right, by his philosophies, his doctrine, his false doctrine. He's a proud man, and the Most High hates, a prideful heart, going into your mind, because the Hebrew word for, heart is loud. Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, right? And this man is in every nation's affairs and business, all right, pushing forth his, decrees. And cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people.
So he's not happy with him and his people believing in this shit. Now, that's not enough for him. He could have a whole country where he believes it, his wife believes it, his kid believes it, but it's still not enough for him. He wants the whole earth to think like him. He can't stand the idea that there's any divergence of thought apart from his. And it's not like it's a righteous one. In the we desire that. We're in the kingdom, but we desire that out of righteousness.
That's right.
We believe it to be the correct doctrine, which I imagine he does. Ultimately he knows it's wicked. He might think, yes, this is the right thing, but he knows he's doing wrong. In his hearts of hearts, he knows he's the wicked. He gets pleasure from that. So he derives pleasure, from deculturizing, if that's a word. Taking someone's culture and replacing it with your own.
That's right. He likes to portray himself as everybody else but himself. Even in films.
He's the Persians, he's the Medes, he's the Egyptians, he's the Babylonians. But he's everyone except the Edomites. That's something you'll notice.
That's right. And if not, he'll whitewash it, He's
insatiable.
The article from End Time Headlines. The headline reads, New Israeli government expects to sign a peace agreement with Saudis within a year.
Okay, we'll see. You might want that, but the Arabs don't want that. They probably don't want you to blow them up, shoot their little children with tanks. But at the same time, they're not looking for peace anytime soon. That's right. You have better chance asking the Russians.
Yeah, man, because they're testing their missiles and all sorts. They've got one named Satan 2, Avant-Garde. All right, just to name a couple. So they're in that spirit of war.
Absolutely.
And nothing's gonna bribe them or change Putin's mind, because he looks like he's the man to bring forth World War III.
I don't want to rise that.
That's right. So this article goes into Israel's former United Nations ambassador, now a member of the incoming coalition, said that the new government will expand the Abraham Accords and sign a peace treaty with Saudi Arabia soon. I expect we'll see an agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia this year, said Ambassador Danny Dannon, speaking at the first annual Abraham Accords Global Leadership Summit.
I'll tell you where they had an Abraham Accord in Psalm, was it 83? It mentions Edom, but chiefly it mentions Amalek. It also mentions Ishmael, I believe. But if not even Ishmael, and all these nations have conspired, man.
Right.
As it's written in Maccabees, for what nation hath not gotten of her kingdom and gotten of her spoils.
Right, man. These are the 17 heathen nations have had, part of our, downfall, had us in, captivity and slavery.
So I try to play the victim when you're in captivity and slavery.
That's right. I think you can read about that in the Book of Judges. I expect we'll see an agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia this year, said Ambassador.
Yeah, they'll agree to blow each other up, man.
That's right, because those 1948s, man, they've got an arsenal of weapons, they've got military, all right,
aid from Babylon.
That's right, yeah. So much in reparations they get.
It shows you who really rules Babylon. On my Kanye shit.
Exactly. So much in aid, reparations. All right, they're not poor because they own all the diamond districts and
banks, media.
Exactly. All right, so who's really in poverty? Can't be. They don't fit none of the prophecies. None of the curses.
They fit the prophecy of the Gentiles will downtrodden the. How's it written?
Jerusalem should be.
That's it. Trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. When the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled, 1 Corinthians 15:24, then cometh the end, when he shall have put down all rule, all authority and power. That's right. So they are the Gentiles. They are not the Jews. Look, they're taking down the Ukrainian flag up there.
Yeah.
They put up a Christmas flag now.
That's another folly there. That's coming up, and I saw another article about how there's hardly anything's on the shelves, right? Hardly anything at all. So it looks like it's going to be a terrible Christmas this year, which our people shouldn't even be celebrating that. It's got nothing to do with the scriptures. It goes back to Nimrod, and it's all it's all pagan, right? The Christmas tree and everything like that. says it in Jeremiah, is it 10 and 16, those who decorate
Jeremiah 10 and the first couple of verses, I believe. They will take a tree out of the forest, deck it with silver and gold. It's exactly the same thing. Now, people nowadays, they don't necessarily carve it up into an idol and sit there and worship it. But the customs that they do come exactly from that. And when was Yahushua born? Yahushua was born in the spring. Yahushua was born around the time of the Pesach, right, the Passover, which is known as the spring festival. You have the new year, the first month of the year, and then the first feast, aside from the Sabbath, if it falls like that, the first major feast, is the Pesach. So how on earth, in the winter, is Yahushua being born? The winter feast is the feast of dedication in the winter, which Yahushua kept, also known as Hanukkah. That's what we should be keeping around this season, which we just had. Christmas is not our custom. That's a custom of the heathen. And I'll show you. They don't like all these feasts. They replace the Pesach, the Passover, the true, sort of season that Yahushua was born. They replace that with what? Easter, which goes back to Ishtar, more idolatry. And they take out anything to do with the scriptures. They put a fucking bunny and an egg. They put a bunny and an egg. What does that have to do with the scriptures? What does that have to do with the Passover? But it goes back to really the mother goddess worship, the symbolism of life, that egg, nothing to do with the scriptures. We're meant to be celebrating and reminding ourselves of what the Lord did upon Egypt. Going back to what we read in Revelation 11 and 8, making that fit in this new Egypt. We'll be delivered in a similar manner. Because the only thing leaving Babylon the Great will be the elect, as the Apostle Kabbalah once said. So you see these people are caught up in philosophy and vain deceit, from one trend to the next.
That's right. Just follow anything that's popping, that's popular, trendy. All right, and celebrate all these holidays instead of our high holidays in the Bible.
But profess Christianity, profess belief. But the pastors, and the churches lead our people astray. Again, we have to take some accountability.
That's right. Go back to the article. Reads, Danon is a member of Israeli Prime Minister designate Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party. I bring good news from Jerusalem. The new Israeli government's first priority will be to increase signatories to the Abraham Accords. Prime Minister Netanyahu's first state visit will be to Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and we hope that Riyadh, which is in Saudi Arabia, will follow. Danon continued. Just a few months after the September 2020 signing of the Accords, then Prime Minister Netanyahu snubbed the UAE, United Arab Emirates, by cancelling planned trips to Abu Dhabi on 3 separate occasions due to domestic and Crown 19 related issues. This enabled Naftali Bennett to become Israel's first Prime Minister to ever visit the UAE.
Which is funny that you mentioned Naftali, because when you talk, I was listening to Elder Apostle Sahar's video recently. He's going in on these people. They'll call themselves Judah, the tribe of Judah. Sometimes they'll say Levi, I'm from Levi. They rarely ever say, I've never heard one say Benjamin. That's what the elder said as well. They've never said, I'm the tribe of Naphtali. I'm the tribe of Manasseh. I'm the tribe of Issachar. So what happened to the rest of the tribes? If you want to say that 1948 was a prophecy, which it absolutely wasn't, if you want to say that it was, then you're going to have to show us where the other tribes came back. Because we can show you each tribe. And we can show you a location, as the scripture said that they would come, seeking the Lord.
That's right.
And for you Negro-only Israelites, you've got whole camps of so-called Hispanics, whole camps of so-called Israelite foreigner-looking people, looking like these other nations, but the seed line would have to go back to Jacob.
Right, due to the scattering, in the curse of Deuteronomy 28.
Vietnam is a great example of that. When Jake went out there as a soldier, Jake, man, he spreads his seed. So you're gonna have Jake everywhere, looking like everything, all shapes, colors, sizes. But you can tell Jake, you can see Jake.
Exactly, man. So, we judge the spirit. Okay, can't just lean, can't just judge carnally, right?
You have to be a faith-based Israelite.
I don't know if you get mocked for saying that, but this
what
whole
else
thing
is
about exactly, it's all by faith. You can't look at our, historical records. Even if we, have them intact, most of it's been destroyed.
Absolutely.
If not altered, at least.
Right.
You know.
Man, trust in man too much. It says 1 Thessalonians 5:3, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So you see this peace, safety, peace talks. Let's increase world safety. Let's make sure that everything's okay. Let's make sure we've got enough precautions in place against the pestilences that are coming on the earth. But we'll see, man. We'll see. Will they be able to fight the Lord? Some of them really believe in their heart of hearts that they can. But in the heart, they know they can't. Right? Like the elites, they know Daniel's prophecy. They know it's very accurate. There's many, and they know that. But then they have pride to believe that the last prophecy, the M.O.T.B, that they'll be able to accomplish it. When it's written, when he's about to fill his belly, the Lord will cast his wrath upon him, man. Bring him down from his rulership, heaven, to a pit.
The article goes on to read, it's just a matter of time before courageous leaders step out of the shadows and full peace is achieved between all the children of Abraham.
Listen, we will get peace. There will be peace among the nations in the kingdom. He, of course, will still have that hatred. But what's he going to do? He won't have the power in that time. He gets away with it now because he has the power. He has the power in his hand. But he doesn't have that much power anymore. Can you imagine if we in the, let's say the 1920s, tried to come out and call him the devil to his face, go into this prophesy? That would never happen. But the Lord has made a way, has allowed that to happen. Which if I was an E, I'd be mad as fuck right now, man. You're telling me these niggas, we used to hang them on trees, and now they be cussing us out, calling us all manner of names, and I can't do shit about it. That'd piss you off, man.
Exactly.
But so be it. Your time is coming, man.
Right, man. This word is just devouring them, man.
Sleepless nights. And it says in Acts, it says in Joel, that the Lord's going to show visions, pour out his spirit upon all flesh.
That's right.
It says your sons will prophesy, your daughters will dream visions, paraphrasing. But you best believe these nations are being shown stuff. The Lord's always used Cyrus. He referred to Cyrus as his anointed. So he uses these nations. So you best believe he's putting terrors probably on the elites, probably on certain people in rulership positions, telling them and bringing fear upon them, and the fear of the Lord. I had a nightmare, man. I'm glad that's not real.
Just a matter of time before courageous leaders step out of the shadows and the full peace is achieved between all the children of Abraham. I expect we'll see an agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia this year. Some 30 nations were represented at the Rome event, which focused on ways to increase peace and tolerance in the spirit of the Abraham Accords, according to a statement. That's the end of that article.
You can't be too tolerant as well. America, they're not tolerant of certain things the Arabs get down with. They're not tolerant of certain things these other nations, which mainly it's the Arabs. Mainly it tends to be the Arabs that they have war with. They're not tolerant of the Russians. Why are they not tolerant of Russia's violence towards Ukraine? Come on, I thought you were a tolerant and inclusive society. So you can't tolerate everything, man. That's what the world tries to push out. That's again philosophy and vain deceit. They try to push out everything must be tolerated. But then you're intolerant to those that are intolerant to certain things. That doesn't even make sense. In their doctrine, they'll push, Islam is a religion of peace. These liberals, not that we're, Republicans or whatever is the country. They're both the same sides of the same wings of the same bird, the same devil ultimately. But we can see the holes in both. So we've been given the eye salve. So they'll push out, Islam is a religion of peace. They also push the alphabet movement, when those two are completely opposed to one another. You know, one of the reasons that they're in Arabian countries, or not maybe a major one, but it's because they're against that. You know, when they went out to Qatar for the World Cup, you know, England were bugging out, you know, having a rainbow flag on them, and they weren't saying the Lord's not going to flood the earth again, which is the true meaning of that symbolism. You know, they were trying to push the funny man movement, you know, and they were not having that. They were not having that, and rightly so. You see how he reacts when they try to bring Islam. You know, a great majority, whether they're vocal about it or not. So they'll push that, but the same people are pushing, you know, one another off buildings, not one another. You know, but the funny man, they get judged out there. But they'll push Islam as a religion of peace. You know, so that's confusion. That's with mixture. You know, like I said, the right wing, the left wing, it's the same shit. Yeah, it's the same shit ultimately. There might be certain leanings we have to either one. You know, none of them are a holistically true doctrine. And a lot of that is you do what's right in your own eyes. As long as you have the core tenets, you have a lot of liberty in all of them, and it is used for a cloak of maliciousness.
Right. Now this is another article from the New York Times. The headline reads, "Brain surgical thingy have begun to restore functions, but advances are slow." You know, we've got speaking code words. You know, to throw off the algorithm.
They'll try to clip it. You know, and that really only came, the Prophet started ramping that up at the time of the C-19. You know, a lot of people pushing out against the Max. You know, some were saying it's the M.O.T.B. But, you know, a lot of us were doing videos saying, well, this is the Haraks. You know, this is the implement they're going to use, but they're going to come with an upgraded version. You know, but they weren't even with that. They were not with that. They didn't like the idea of it being exposed. So now any mention of certain words, keywords, that's why you'll hear us say some, you know, random stuff like fish and chips or sea ragamuffin. Maxine Waters. You know, you have to read between the lines.
That's right. But it shows it's the truth because, you know, they can't handle it. They're trying to clip everything.
You can't handle the truth.
Clip anything.
But it's written, we can do nothing against the truth, but only for the truth.
Precisely.
And same goes for vocab. That's a major scripture, a cut against vocab. You know, he'll bring out some doctrine, or he'll go to a Christian, you know, interview them. What do you think about Hebrew Israelism? And some will say, well, I believe it, you know, and that'll cut him off as like, you know, crying internally. Or, you know, they'll say, oh, no, I've never really heard of it. Oh, yeah, I've heard of it, I don't believe it. But them that have never really heard of it, you know, a large percentage of them come and look it up. Because you have to remember 2/3 of Israel in Babylon the Great, you know, will perish. But what's the remainder? 1/3. That's a lot of people. You know, so when you're pushing out these videos, vocab, saying this is the Hebrew Israelites are the devil, the Hebrew Israelites are antichrist, so all this, you're not realizing you're helping the Lord, man. You know, like I made reference to Cyrus. You know, he uses these other heathens, so you're used to put a magnifying glass upon the truth. When people look in the lens, you know, a lot of them end up getting converted. I remember a brother saying he first heard about the truth, tried to debunk it, and ended up falling into the truth. You know, falling into place. Everyone was standing there a lot. So you best believe, you know, the Hamans of that time are back. Just as the prophets are back, you know, the demons are back. You should welcome as the great demon from Teman, man.
That's right. This is Sirach chapter 32, verse 17. A sinful man will not be reproved, but findeth an excuse according to his will. That's right, man. So, you know, got a lot of our people when we, you know, try to tell them, you know, the Lord's coming back, you know, it's coming back soon. You know, you got to repent. Right? They want to carry on in their folly, even when we're clearly, all right, you know, coming out of the scriptures and proving it to them. All right, they still want to, you know, attach themselves to this world, still trying to make it in this world, right? Because you know, they don't believe, they lack that faith, right? And ultimately they're spiritually blinded.
they're spiritually blind, but they walk by sight, not by faith. So
Precisely.
if you're blind walking by sight, it's not going to end well. Would you get in a plane where the pilot was blind? But a lot of these people want to follow the pastors that are blind. They'll follow them to the grave, or follow the so-called scientists, which are really, witch doctors. For example, the Macs and a lot of these, so-called remedies that are completely contrary to that, like they mash up, aborted fetal cells. Imagine if you had some Haitian, or some West African cooking up some aborted fetus, into some medicine and injecting it in someone's arm. You'd call it what it is. It's witchcraft. It's devilry. It's sorcery. It's some fucked up shit. But you do it with a nice little suit on and your shaved bald face, and this is great. This is helping humanity. And we shows you the branding, the marketing. Esau is a marketing genius.
Certainly.
The way he's positioned himself, his media. When you really analyze that, you can see a lot of his tricks. The witchcraft of words. He's an expert at that.
That's right. That's why he's able to, slander us and, talk all sorts of manner and lies upon us.
And a small detail being altered can have a massive meaning. You ever seen that film, The Butterfly Effect, or the idea? What if instead of shaking his hand with the left, I did it with the right, and then it changes all this shit. So if you were to say, this man, walked to the shop, and then he ran to the shop. If it was in a criminal case, for example, well, if he was running, maybe there was a reason because he was guilty, something like that. This guy was walking away from the police. No, he was running away from the police. A small detail changes the whole context.
Exactly.
So even if you're not equipped, you don't know the knowledge. When you first come into it, for example, they may be able to shake you. That goes back to the parable of the sower as well. Some were without root, and when the persecution arises, they folded, basically. So we got to pray for increased faith, increased stability. That's these times, which wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of the times. It says money is a defense, something else is a defense. I can't remember what it is, but wisdom is above all. Do you mind searching it up, Rebecca? Money is a defense, something is a defense, but wisdom is above all them. Riches profit not in the day of wrath. What are you going to do when they tell you, let's say you got into crypto, for example, you had whatever great charagma coins they're meant to be, and then they tell you, well, you can't have them anymore unless you take this C hip in your brain, or you take a C hip in your hand, in your leg, in your knee, wherever it is. That's what the people try to say, well, if I take it in my leg, I'll be fine, which proves it can't be that. It's talking about your mind, and it's talking about your actions. A lot of people in Tazariak trying to push that against that guy. What was that the guy's name? He had a debate with, or podcast with Hassan Campbell, is it? Or is that another guy?
I think that's a different person.
Okay, my bad.
I might be wrong. But,
clearly we don't know, but he had a conversation with someone, and that someone could see it. He was saying, well, this is what it is. This is the M.O.T.B. Zariak was saying, no, it's talking about your mind. You can get it implanted in your head, or get it in your head, in your forehead. It's talking about your mind, what you're thinking. In your hand, it's talking about the actions you do. Same thing HOI teach. Priest Sabat, they all teach that. And he said John 3:16 is the mark of. He said that.
So where does the buying and selling aspect come in then? If that's,
you walk into the store, you walk into Walmart. Hey man, what do you think about John 3:16? Well, clearly God loves everyone. That's right. And then they give you your bread. If you say no, actually, when you go into John 3:16, you go into the world. You have the world word. You have cosmos. You have eon. You start breaking it down. And when you go into it too much, you say it's talking about Israel. Now you can't have any bread. How would that work? Well, these groups are not visionaries. Although we walk by faith, not by sight, we have that spiritual vision, that foresight, eyesight we may see.
That's right, because the prophets, in the ancient world was known as seers, visionaries. Kings at that time would come to them, to to learn of prophetic events, basically.
Tells you about that in the first Samuel, yeah.
Book of 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 9. Before time in Israel, when a man went to inquire of Yahweh, thus he spake, Come and let us go to the seer, for he that is now called a prophet was before time called the seer.
See? Right, so although we don't see it, in the physical, we see it in the spirit. Brothers might have had literal visions or literal dreams, but we have our eyes on the prize. We keep our eyes single. Lord willing, that be until the end. We focus on it, even when we're going through these, in this world, using the world, not abusing the world. We've always got it on our mind, meditating on it. Right. And the more that you occupy yourself in it, the easier it is to maintain in meditation. But sometimes it's difficult because there'll be a lot of heathenistic shit around you. A lot of distractions. That's why you have to stay on track. That's why it's imperative to pray as well.
That's right.
And keep that helmet of righteousness, breastplate of faith.
Exactly. Like King David, said, "Take not thy Holy Spirit away from me."
Mm-hmm.
So the Hebrew word for seer is ra'ah, and it goes into a seer, prophet, prophetic vision.
Like you have the name Ra'awaban, means behold a son or look a son.
And so that's we're coming back and prophesying things to come, Lord willing, with those people in the ancient world. Ecclesiastes 7:11, wisdom is good with an inheritance, and by it there is profit to them that see the sun. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom giveth life to them that have it. That's right. Money and wisdom, is a defense.
You can't get eternal life through money. Some people believe that you can. Some people believe that they're caught up in that Babylonian juice, man. They're caught up in that wine. They think that their house will continue forever. They believe Babylon will continue forever. So their little shed at the end of Babylon's garden will therefore last forever. You got another thing coming. I'm not saying don't maintain, don't do anything foolish, don't throw away all your money or whatever. Use what you have to maintain. Don't be expecting to be here 50, 100, 3,000 years like Jake does. Plotting, which Jake, he doesn't really have foresight, doesn't really think beyond the day. Them Jakes that get to a level of certain money, they're planning generations ahead. They start trying to think like the elites. It's the true way to think like an elite. It goes back to the French word éléguer, which means elect. Elect and elite have the same root, but I know which one I'd prefer to be. Some have their portion in this world. Woe to you that are rich. Right. You have your consolation.
That's right.
You've got what it is. You had fiat currency. Restricted freedom. You couldn't even breathe clean air. Through all this shit they're pushing it. Couldn't eat clean food. And that's just the start of it. That's just a surface level. Jake, like you said in your video, I'm living my best life. Munching on lobster, snorting cocaine, doing whatever. Xanax, Percocets, everything they're pushing in hip-hop music. Which that seems to be a new thing as well. That was never really acceptable among Jake. But then they pushed that out, and you could guess who that was. For 50 minus 2, but I'm at 19 in front of it. And I might start clipping onto that year. You can see who's in control, especially by who you can't criticize as well.
So back to that article in the New York Times, brain implants have begun to restore functions, but advances are slow. But achieving full body restoration of movement, as Elon Musk envisions with such devices, is considered far into the future, if at all. A jumble of cords and 2 devices the size of soda cans protrude from Austin Begin's head when he undergoes testing with a team of researchers studying brain implants that are meant to restore function to those who are paralyzed. Despite the cumbersome equipment, it is also when Mr. Begin feels the most free. He was paralyzed from the shoulders down after a diving accident 8 years ago. And the brain device picks up the electrical surges that his brain generates. As he envisions moving his arm, it converts those signals to cuffs on the major nerves in his arm.
Now, if you're in the world, you know that for someone taking it for convenience or taking it because they want to play ping pong with their brain, you know that seems absurd and outlandish. But if you're in the world and someone's paralyzed, you know, maybe a family member, you remember him before, for example, a car accident or whatever happened. You know, he was happy, he was joyful, he was doing this, he was doing that, and then he got paralyzed. You know, maybe he went into depression. You know, he couldn't deal with stuff. You're not necessarily going to be opposed to that. You know, so this is going to be a great angle for the opposition, for the ops, the adversaries, to start pushing out a demonization campaign of us. They want people to be disabled. They don't want people to walk. They're against humanity. You know, they want this for the people. They don't like society. They're against this. They don't contribute. They're not focused on providing to the economy. Sorry, maintaining or benefiting the economy or whatever. So they'll push all this. You know, when we benefit to your economy, we're the reason you're on top. Slave labor. Now let's be realistic. You know, we don't owe you shit. Right? But they're gonna use that. You know, and a lot of Jakes probably will get ensnared in it. Them without root, they don't truly have that faith deep in the ground. You know, maybe it's just a seed that's just started to rooting out, germinating and all that. You know, for them that are not rooted, these are sort of things that they're gonna use again, the witchcraft of words. You know, try to snare you up. So what you're saying is, you know, them journalist tactics. They know this shit, these interrogation tactics. You have to remember Babylon was, they took on a lot of German Nazi scientists after World War II. I think it's called Operation Paperclip, if I'm not mistaken. I get those operations mixed up. There's one like, I think it's Paperclip. You know, fact check me on that for sure. But either way, they took on a lot of German scientists, man. So at one point the Germans were the devils, and then they're on side with them. So now they're not the devil. Then you're both the devil. You might as well team up with the Teamanites. And they did a lot of MK Ultra, a lot of experiments on people like that. So they know what makes people tick, specifically Jake. You know, so they're preparing. They've been preparing.
Operation Paperclip was a secret intelligence program that brought Nazi scientists to America. Just looked on that.
So we just make this shit up. You know, the history of you is enough. We don't need to, embellish it. We don't need to add anything. Laying up on tables. No chaser.
That's right. Let's go back to the article. Despite the cumbersome equipment, it is also where Mr. Begin feels the most free. He was paralysed from the shoulders down after a diving accident 8 years ago, and the brain device picks up the electrical surges that his brain generates as he envisions moving his arm. It converts those signals to cuffs and the major nerves in his arm. They allow him to do things he had not done on his own, like since the accident, like lift a pretzel to his mouth.
See, that is a miracle. However they try to spin it, that is a miracle. It's on the left hand. It's not by righteous means, but that is certainly a miracle.
This is like the first time I've ever gotten the opportunity, or I've ever been privileged and blessed enough to think, when I want to open my hand, I open it. Mr. Begin 30 said, days like that are always a special day. The work at the Cleveland Functional Electrical Stimulation Center represents some of the most cutting-edge research in the brain-computer interface field, with the team connecting the brain to the arm to restore motion. It's a field that Elon Musk wants to advance, announcing in a recent presentation that brain implants from his company Neuralink will someday help restore sight to the blind or return people like Mr. Begin to full body functionality. Mr. Musk also said the Neuralink device would allow anyone to use phones and other machines with new levels of speed and efficiency.
I read an article recently on the competition to Neuralink, which is Synchron, SYNCHRON, and it was someone and Bill Gates. I can't remember, another rich person and Bill Gates that were in support of that. So, and the billionaires What I said in that was billionaires. They didn't get billionaires by just taking random, lucky guesses when they make investments. They clearly study the market, and they've come to the conclusion that this charagma technology is something that will be very much at the forefront. Will be the future, if you like. So they know they are the insiders, which they most likely are once you get to that level of net worth. But they can see it as potential. Their men of vision on the left hand side, they have prognosticators.
Yeah.
They have people that are around in these secret meetings, and you best believe they do happen. Conspire just means to breathe with. So if there's a conspiracy theory, conspiracy theory, conspiracy theory. People are together breathing, with the same mind, with one accord.
That's their secret councils as well.
The secret council of the wicked. They're called that for a reason. They're really going to show why.
Neuroscientists and Mr. Begin alike see such giant advances as decades away, though scientists who have approved to test such devices in humans are inching towards restoring a normal function in typing, speaking and limited movements. Researchers caution that the goal is much harder and more dangerous than it may seem, and they warn that Mr. Musk's goals may never be possible, if it is even worth doing in the first place. And even got images of the device going into someone's head as well.
Some Black Mirror shit, if you ever saw that program.
Heard of it but not seen it, but yeah, I think it's on Netflix.
Basically it's outlandish, seemingly outlandish things, but they show you how easily it could have been implemented. One of them they did actually have a brain C-hipping, but a lot of them were like plays on how much people are into social media, how much they're glued to their phones, and it's a lot of social commentary. A good series, but nonetheless, it really is likened to one of these sci-fi films, and because they pushed it out so much, Hollywood has geared the minds of people to accept cyborgism, and looking to merge themselves, the fourth industrial revolution, which is blending man and tech, human and technology. They've pushed it with gradualism. That a lot of people that may have been more opposed are going to be less opposed, because they've been accustomed to it. They've become desensitized to such a crazy idea. What once was a crazy idea is now becoming a realistic, is offering utility. How many people in the world that don't have a firm reason to be against it are going to say that it's bad for a paralyzed man to now be able to use his arms and possibly walk, be an NBA superstar? That's all you need is one Jake that was paralyzed, became an NBA superstar, and you've got Jake's support. Now, our people are simple, man. How many of our people took the jump shot because they could get a booty dance or a piece of chicken when they're offering free Popeyes burgers? I might have made that up, but it's not too far-fetched. Our people are real-life Boondocks characters, man.
So they were begging people to take it to give them free, discounted.
Why would you do that? They already talk about herd immunity. If enough, there's so many points, there's so many angles you can come with on this. If it works, if it's effective, you took it, I didn't take it. You're not going to get harmed because it's effective. I'm going to get harmed because I don't have it. So what's the problem? So why are you giving me booty dances and chicken to take it? I would have accepted if it was watermelon. They really and our people deserve everything they get. Every last thing. Sometimes you feel sorry for Jake, but then you have to snap out of that shit and you see how Jake really moves. You understand why the Lord has to kill 2/3 of people in Babylon, man. Of our people, to be specific.
That's right. They don't look into nothing, they don't research nothing, they don't, consider.
My people does not consider. Exactly. Right, the ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib.
Israel.
If not, my people does not consider, man. Are completely destroyed. As long as a devil, all you need to be is a devil, have a suit, have no beard, I will accept 100% of everything you say.
Right, because when a rich man speaks,
bang, bang, bang. Every man holds his tongue. They extol it to the clouds.
that's right.
When the poor man speaks, whose man's is this? Man, shut up.
Article reads, it is fun to think about science fiction scenarios describing how the world might be, said Paul Nayukayan,
See?
a professor of bioengineering and neurosurgery at Stanford University, who spent years working on similar technology. But given where we are right now with the science, it is not clear how these scenarios will be realized.
And that's where we stand on it. You know, we know exactly what it is. We don't know exactly how it will be implemented necessarily. You know, there's many angles, like so they can come with it. Convenience, have your money on it. I remember they were pushing have your medical records on it.
That's right.
Even the Pentagon themselves, that was big, major breakthrough, major news in the Hebrew Israelite circles. The Pentagon came out with one that could detect any symptoms of C19 in your blood. So guess what that means? No more social distancing, right? No more infinite jump shots. You know, you can solve all of that. You can see your family around the holiday time. And it might not necessarily be too deep this year, but I remember, you know, it was either last year or the year before.
Preferably more like the year before.
Yeah. So a couple of years back, you know, there was like restrictions. You know, I remember back at the HQ, we used to have, you know, a while back, we kept the Feast of Tabernacles, you know, with about 10 people, but really we're only allowed to have like 2-3 people there. You know, but I remember them saying, well, no, you're not allowed to do this. The government have restricted it. You know, which again, that's the first time in human history that they've locked down the whole earth and really managed to be that invasive in people's lives where they willingly accept it. You know, once you got your claws in like that, you can't really afford to let it go. But there was a lot of resistance.
Definitely.
A lot of resistance, a lot more than they expected, I assume.
You know, especially when like they brought in like army.
Yep.
Things like that, yeah.
You know, that was a test. It was a trial run. It was a test before the test. The test is to try the whole earth. The hour of temptation is known as. So you groups better find out exactly what that means and exactly what they're trying to tempt you with, you know, that you don't get caught up in that snare.
The scientists at the Neuralink event on November 30th and those watching online agreed that the engineering that Mr. Musk showed off was an elegant mashup of some of the best ideas in a decades-old field. Replacing the soda can-like protrusion from the head would indeed be a significant advance, they acknowledged. Neuralink's device prototype would eliminate that problem, but only after patients undergo robotic surgery to cut a hole in the head slightly larger than a quarter. Then the robot knits 1024 cobweb-thin electrode tendrils into the grey matter of the brain and rests the hook-like device in the hole. So they're giving you a description of how, you know, the procedure takes place. With work so delicate, some researchers in the field worry that one high-profile misstep could erase years of progress. The communications coming out of Neuralink too often sounds like cowboy activity, right? Said Marcus Gerhardt, Chief Executive of BlackRock Neurotech, a brain-computer interface company that could be a Musk rival. Mr. Gerhardt said the neurosurgeons affiliated with the company are petrified every day that something terrible could happen there and affect the rest of the space. Mr. Began is one of about 36 people who have a device called a Utah array implanted in the brain for research purposes. The device includes a small grid of electrodes that are dipped barely 2 millimeters into his brain, that is linked to a portal mounted on his head and via cables to another computer.
Who thinks of this shit?
That's right, man. It's to come across the minds of our people, man. To want to, you know.
You really have to be a mad scientist. You have to be very intelligent, wiser than Daniel, and you have to be a devil.
That's right. Is there no more wisdom in Teeman?
Man, who's sat in his room? I know what I need to do. I think of how to brain machine.
I think Elon Musk is of German descent.
Must be. That wouldn't surprise me.
That's right, because T-men do, have that, that knowledge, that wisdom of
And all that heavy for the engineering, especially vehicles,
Germany,
especially military, arms, ARMS.
That's right.
They're warlike people and they're very adept in that field. Which all E is. But that would be where you see a lot.
Most of the days, Mr. Beggin spends working with the Cleveland research team involved looking at a moving arm or hand on a computer screen and envisioning himself making the same motion that allows researchers to detect the neuron firing patterns in his brain that give rise to each movement. Those signals are communicated to a system that manipulates 8 nerves in his arm to make it move. Professor of biomedical engineering at Case Western Reserve University, whose team has been working with patients like Mr. Beggin, said, whatever his name is, that'll be that name. The work can be tedious, Mr. Beggin said, but he finds it worthwhile for the days when he can move his hand. His experience builds on work with a prior volunteer who was also paralyzed in his arms and legs and managed to lift a forkful of mashed potatoes to his mouth with the system.
Tell Jake it was mashing, mac and cheese, and he'll be with that. Pork ribs he lifted to his mouth. Oh yeah.
Mr. Beggin did not watch the Neuralink presentation last month, but he said he was dismayed to hear that Musk raised the notion of full body functionality for people who are paralyzed. It's an outcome that, given the painstaking work involved in his hand motions, Mr. Beggin expects will take a generation to achieve.
They're on warp speed, for all, not just Operation Warp Speed, but for all of their missions. Why is that? Because they know that they have a short time.
That's right.
The devil's coming down with great wrath.
That's why you hear a lot more of these central bank digital currencies, propping up more information on them, right? Because that's the foundation for when the M.O.T.B is going to be, functioning on, running on, operating on. All right. Article reads, his mother, Shelley Beggin, agrees. As a parent, I would love to hear that. Miss Beggin said, I would have held on to that hope that he would be able to walk. Realistically, she said, she's happy to see her son's hard-won hand motions. Scientists who work on the brain-computer interfaces say that tempering patient expectations is important in a field that has seen stunning progress, but faces daunting challenges. Academic teams across the nation are working on projects aimed at restoring function to those with disabilities or degenerative diseases. Scientists are working to map the visual center of the brain so points of light can be projected in the mind's eye to help blind see shapes and letters. Other teams are working on translating neural electricity into speech, cursor control, handwriting and typing applications. Several companies, including Neuralink, are working on fully implantable devices. Paradromics, a startup in Austin, Texas, is developing a device that sits inside the skull.
Okay, never heard of them.
Neither have I. So you see, you can't, there's no excuse. It's just they're coming outright and telling you. Another company, Synchron, like you mentioned before, based in New York City, is taking a different approach, making an incision in the chest and pushing a tube-shaped device into an artery close to the brain. So it doesn't really matter, the method of how they're doing it. It's still a brain implantable device. Yeah,
that sounds like a faff going through the chest all the way to the brain.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know about that shit. Again, we're not pushing this, but that's what I mean. The engineering and the intelligence that's gone into this is incredible. So especially the science and medical industry would definitely be pushing this heavy. Supporting it, promoting it. A lot of the articles, they'll come with objections, and they'll basically debunk the objections. They'll go against them and say, well, others say, so and that's, if you ever did in school, writing to persuade, that's exactly what you do. You list out, even in sales, marketing, you list out, well, what's the customer's objection going to be? What's the common, negative reviews? what are the comments, that are against this, and then they'll address them in the next article. Some say like this. However, we contacted a representative who said da 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 da, and then they'll negate any objections. So they're masters at this.
That's right. This avoids the dangers of brain surgery, but the signal it captures from the brain is considerably weaker, according to Tom Oxley, chief executive of Synchron. Despite all the promise in the field, scientists say this technology has very little to offer to the typical consumer, as it is merely approaching the speed and precision of able-bodied control. That seems as if it's about to change, Dr. Ajiboye said. He compared it to the field to the computer industry in 1980, and it was on track for a revolution.
First you could add 1 on 1, and you can add maybe 2 on 2, and maybe do a few multiplications. Now look what you can do. Now that really, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. You can call someone on the other side of the earth, and they can you can hear, you can reply like this in seconds, man. When you really deep it, we can take a mobile device, capture the images of real world, put it on the internet, somehow fly it through the air, and then the next person can listen to it, man. That is insane. That's a miracle. That is a high level technology.
Exactly,
we take it for granted, so-called, as the phrase goes today. But like it was written, many should run to and fro, knowledge shall be increased, on the left, on the right.
That's right.
This internet, the main purpose the Lord set this up was for the preaching of the gospel. Believe it or not, as it's written, their line has gone out through the whole earth. Right? There's no speech, no language where their voice is not heard. It said, it talks about the stars, or how does it start that?
Psalm
The
19.
firmament, yeah, there is.
Yeah, because you can get this word day and night at any time now.
Round the clock, and you got brothers in different time zones. There's never a day. Let's just take GMS. Not even
another
other groups. Not even the brothers like ourselves that are associated. That we teach the same doctrine, but not part of the group. Let's just take GMS for example. Daily, in every state. I'm not saying verbatim every single state, but roughly every state. All around. I'll say all around Babylon. You got brothers pushing a video a day, every couple of days, sometimes multiple videos a day. So this word is going out, and that's why you're gonna have to have the family of the word. That's why you're gonna have to have these campaigns. Use Kyrie, Kanye West, Kyrie Irving, and then create a backlog that you can reference. Another thing they'll reference is the attack on the 48ers, and I don't mean a basketball team. Back in New Jersey, I think it was. You had some deranged, dreadlock, bearded, so-called BHI, Black Hebrew Israelite, that apparently went after them. When again, that's like a Christian that talks all that, but in the script holds the Bible, but does everything opposite to it. It says in here, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. So I explain how he would be going to carnal war if he's truly a believer in this word. But they're going to use that. Well, back here, and then they don't do it all at once. Again, gradualism. They plot it out. Well, we can make reference to this point, then this point, then this point. Then you put a puzzle together, a piece together, a hit piece.
Psalm 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai. The firmament showed his handiwork.
Right, and when we go to when we went into Revelation 12 last week, we made reference to the sun and the moon and the stars. When we go into Joseph's dream, the other stars made obeisance to him, which represents his siblings. So the Israelites are known like unto the stars. So it's the Israelites' line that's gone out throughout the whole earth. When you read this chapter,
and that could also go into the broadcast, the satellite, things of that nature.
Well, they're going to broadcast through the satellites the destruction of Babylon the Great.
Oh yeah.
So that's another reason that technology was created.
Verse 2, day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. That's right, constant videos being uploaded, all around the clock.
You can't keep up with them. You cannot keep up with them.
Yeah.
You can't even keep up with a couple subscriptions. Let's imagine, let's say a conservative estimate, every brother's pushing up 3 videos a week. You're subscribed to 50 brothers. That's 150 videos. So even if they tried to strike them all, they might as well just take down the whole of YouTube, take down the whole internet.
Which that's what they're looking to do.
And you've got many excuses now. You've got many wars and rumors of wars. You could do a false flag to the point where you put out your own internet and say, oh shit, it was hackers from over here, which incentivizes retaliation, stirs up public opinion. Same sort of shit they did, not same sort of shit, but they were doing certain campaigns to sway public opinions. They have weapons of mass destruction. That sounds familiar. They'll always use something.
Psalm 19 and verse 3, there is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. That's right, because you've got brothers in different countries. Alright.
The languages, you've got Italia, GMS Arabia. You've got a lot. You've got brothers speaking in East African dialects, West African dialects. I remember seeing a video of
is it what's it called again? Where like when you're deaf and you speak with
yeah, sign language.
That's it. Yeah.
GMS Holland Deaf Camp. That's it. That. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's everywhere, man. There was a brother. Lost my train of thought. It's everywhere, man.
Yeah, basically.
It's fully everywhere.
Verse 4, their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun.
And that's a place where there's great brightness. It says wisdom maketh a man's face to shine. So he set a tabernacle, a dwelling place for the sun, a dwelling place for the light to go out. All in the world is darkness.
Right, gross darkness covers the world. Ignorance.
They're drunk but not with wine. They stagger but not with strong drink. Going back to that Babylon juice, man. The whole earth is being made drunk with. This is Revelation chapter 17, verse 1 and 2. And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, saying unto me, come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. And that's that philosophy, doctrine, ideology, democracy, alphabet movements. There's many.
That's right.
It's an amalgamation of abomination.
Article continues on. During the Neuralink presentation, a video showed a monkey named Pager reportedly using a prototype implant in its brain to move a cursor across a computer screen. Mr. Musk's team also showed off the inner workings of the device, impressing some of the neuroscientists who watched the event. During the event, Mr. Musk announced that Neuralink was seeking permission from the Food and Drug Administration to test the device in humans, and he guessed that a clinical trial would begin next year.
Yeah, he said, I think it was around a month back now, must have been in it.
Yeah.
He's looking to do it within the next 6 months.
That's right.
So let's see, 5 months. I'm not saying it's a certainty, but let's see.
Could be less, could be exactly.
Lord willing, it's less.
Yeah.
We want it to hasten the day, as it's written. Looking for an hasten into the coming of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, where what the heavens will basically be set on fire, to paraphrase it.
All the fervent heat.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So there's a heavy judgment coming upon this earth. The closer we get to that, the closer we get to catching hell, the more hell we catch, the closer we are to getting out of here.
That's right.
So though it might not feel pleasant, and no chastening of the present feel no chastening of the present feel pleasant. But afterwards, it brings righteousness, the fruits of righteousness. Very poorly paraphrased, but out of Hebrews 12th chapter there. And no chastening when you're going through affliction, when you're getting whooped, when your dad's got that belt, he's licking you, you don't feel good. You get slapped across, you don't feel good. But afterward, when you weren't a ninja, when you weren't in the streets committing sorcery or doing whatever, it feels good. Because you don't get the ultimate judgment from the Heavenly Father. You'd much prefer to get whooped from your earthly father. you know.
That's right. That's right. You know, during the event, Mr. Musk announced that Neuralink was seeking permission from the Food and Drug Administration to test the device in humans, and he guessed that a clinical trial would begin next year. So all these different, you know, companies, like even like Pfizer and, you know, like it says here, the FDA,
Johnson and Johnson.
Exactly.
Don't
They all-
remember them.
Exactly. They all have, you know, they all, you know, communicate with one another in terms of like, you know, certain like deals and.
What do we call that? A conspiracy.
That's right. Yeah.
Believe it or not, they're breathing together. They have the same aim. You know, maybe they're opposition to a degree, but because they're in the same field, you know, the birds of a feather flock together. All flesh consorteth unto his like. And two what together except they be agreed. So although they might have some competition, you know, they have to set some certain guidelines. Like anything, you know, car manufacturers, they're in competition, but they'll have to set a standard of certain things. You know, they have a certain engine size that is a uniform across all. You know, they have the same fuel feeding mechanism. You know, that the petrol stations, the gas stations can all use. You know, so they're in conspiracy. Now it doesn't mean that they're wicked because they have the same fuel tank or whatever that it can all be supplied, but they conspire.
They all have that common goal as well.
Absolutely.
Even if a company leaks something out to maybe another company, or they do another, you know, thing with another, you know, they still have that same common goal.
More time, it's best for business. You know, you have mutual interests, and you're not stepping on each other's toes. It helps them build a business. So you best believe this. You have to remember the love of money is the root of all evil. So if they, by communicating, can actually increase their profits or increase they would all prefer that everyone wants to get a charagma. You know, it's beneficial for every company. So they may work together on that.
That's it.
You know.
Definitely, yeah. This would be a notable step forward for the field. Others have tested wireless devices in humans, but Neuralink is investing so heavily in the project that it may come forward quickly with a more powerful device than before. They basically sourced a lot of the best ideas out there in the top of the field and paid to bring them together in a new system. And I think that is exciting, said Christine Well, a University of Colorado neuroscientist and former FDA brain implant lab director and device consultant.
That was a long time.
How's that?
What did you used to be? Well, I was an FDA, didn't it?
them and their titles, man. Now, whether they can really surmount all of these technical hurdles to demonstrate that it is in fact safe remains to be seen.
And Lord willing, they can. You know, there'd have to be at least one breakthrough company. Oh, because it's written. You know, it'll either be in their forehead or in their hand. You know, and I think they will. This is just me speaking as a man. I'm not necessarily prophesying. If it comes to pass, so be it. I believe they may use the brain ones for more of the medical, you know, sort of field, the science, the people that are paralyzed, so on and so forth. And the ones in the hand will tend to be used for more convenience, for pain, for stuff. You know, you got a lot more fluidity with the hand. You can move it a lot more. I can't see a man walking into a station pain like that with a contactless. You know, but we'll see. You know,
right.
Either way, it's gonna have to come to pass by some means. Again, that's why it's written. We know in part, we prophesy in part. We know there's got to be a charagma. Do we know exactly the man? Does it say in the scriptures? Well, Elon Musk is gonna. No, it doesn't. So it might not necessarily be him, but what we do know is the charagma will be made mandatory, and it will test the whole earth, and a lot of people will fold, man. Fucking fold.
That's right, man. Now, whether they can really surmount all of these technical hurdles to demonstrate that it is in fact safe remains to be seen. It is the FDA that will decide when the trial begins if it grants approval to Neuralink. The agency will pay close attention to device durability given the risks and feasibility of repeated brain surgeries, Dr. Wells said. That means device makers will have to surmount the challenge of operating electronics for years in the soggy milieu of the brain. They will also need to prove that their supercomputer devices does not generate heat or current that unduly injures the delicate brain tissue, she said.
And the brain was not designed for this.
The brain is the brain already is that.
Ultimately, the Lord knew, that people would try and put this shit in, and there's certain, what's the term for it? Like basically booby traps.
Yeah.
The Lord has booby trapped the brain to not accept this.
Your brain is a natural computer in itself.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's why the electrical impulses work with it. That's where they got the idea of, studying. For example, to study a bird. There's a bird up there. Oh, looks like an aeroplane. Wonder why that is. So they study creation because why? The Lord is the ultimate architect.
Exactly.
He's the ultimate scientist. So if you want to do well and create something that works in His creation, you have to study that. So these people have, like it says, they're adept, deep into their field. They know about biomechanics and all of this sort of shit, and they've studied it in depth. So they're able to come to that. But I'm trying to think of that word. I don't know the word. But the Lord has booby trapped the brain. It's not meant to accept this. It will naturally reject it. It's a foreign object.
Exactly.
And ultimately it will lead to a lot of cancer.
That's right. That's why Scripture mentions, grievous sores.
So be it if you strike it for MM, or misinfo.
That's right. I was thinking it does seem like plausible that they use the brain for like medical, things.
It's a lot more invasive, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more efficient for that.
There'll be more. Of course, there's going to be complications with all, but a lot. If you have a surgery go wrong in your hand, you've got another hand.
Exactly.
I don't know about you, but I've only got one brain, man.
There are also very real limits to what the device can do. There may be ethical limits too. As Neuralink pursues a human trial, it's fighting complaints over its tests with monkeys. The company filed papers in the California court this month seeking to block the release of photos of primates it tested from 2017 through 2020. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, an advocacy group, previously obtained hundreds of pages of veterinary records and filed a complaint with the Agriculture Department claiming primate test subjects developed infections and were treated carelessly.
And that's fucking wicked. There was a monkey done to deserve that shit. Monkey. A lot of primates are strong, man. You've seen Planet of the Apes. But on a real note, a lot of them primates are really strong, man.
That's right.
They have the power to overpower E.
You ever watch Wildlife, National Geographic?
Yep. It's not them cartoon bears, where they're all cute, cuddly teddy bears, which is another. Yeah, it's not a major thing, but he has definitely pushed out and sanitized a lot of how the animals are. The reality of animals is brutal, fucking brutal. If you don't eat, you die. There's no way around that. There's no welfare system for animals. That's reality. A lot of them are brutal. So guess what? The Lord is going to let a lot of these animals loose.
Yeah.
Loose on these devils, man.
Eat the wild beasts,
This is a righteous man careth for his beast. But he doesn't care for anything except his damn self. Not even his own family, not even his own people. Which shows you that he is really, really the devil. He don't even look out for the poor of his own people, his own nation. He says, fuck them. So what makes you Jakes think they care about us? Even Michael Jackson said that.
Yeah. If and when Neuralink begins a human trial, it will be limited to people with real needs for the technology, most likely those with spinal cord injuries or other forms of paralysis. Although Mr. Musk said that the Neuralink device could be implanted in healthy humans to enhance their abilities, that seems a remote possibility at this stage.
Just like it seemed a remote possibility or a very scarcity when the mobile phone first came out. It was them that were of high status. And then when the smartphone came out, and then this came out, that came out, then eventually everyone gets it. The new upgraded laptop, the iPhone 3 million. Only a few people can get it, only a few people afford it. It comes at like the first computers, the first phones, the first desktop computers and big thick things. You couldn't afford that. An average Jake couldn't afford that. Then the new technology comes out, so it cheapens the last one, and then they catch on. But really, they're going to try and do that on a much faster time scale. So they might do discounts, might even get to a point where they start paying people to have it. You know, who knows? We'll see. You know, because he is, that's his ultimate goal. You know, any means necessary. Esau's on his Malcolm shit.
Revelation 19 and 20. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire. Brimstone.
Right, and the false prophet represents these false churches, man. Starting with the Catholic Church and any sister churches. You have to realize a lot of these churches, even Seventh-day Adventists, this, that, they all spring off that initial, you know, Catholicism, Roman Catholicism. It's really our people started, you know, but it became co-opted. It was never the 100% truth. There was truth to it, as is anything with the scriptures as a basis, as a foundation. But it was never a holistically true doctrine. For all them different, you saw what happened and how many church pastors, you know, of our people were promoting the C19 jump shot,
where they even had, you can take the juice even at a church, I think. Like they had centres open.
The community centre, the, you know, Blickety Black Pan-African Centre in the high concentration of Jakes, where in the city we dwell, you know, that was opened up as a jump shot centre.
It demonstrates a lack of faith
and a lack of integrity. You know, you're all for your people. You know, this man, we know what he's done, he's oppressed us, but take this juice. You're on your Yohana. You know, General Yohana, Commanding General Yohana, excuse me. Commanding General Yohana commanded his congregation to take it. You're not scared, are you? And I don't know if you saw the article, the new people we have to worry about are the anti-sea hippers.
Oh yeah.
And they were saying, oh, they seem to be scared of this. You know, they try to push that ISUPK doctrine. If you don't take it, you're scared. We're not scared, well, of that. We're scared of the Lord, right? We fear the Lord, and we understand it prophetically what that is. You know, so you're not going to try to catch us. You know, that first round of pressure with the Harats, with the jump shot. You know, guess what? That strengthened a lot of brothers. A lot of brothers, you know, lost family, lost friends, maybe even jobs, or at least had pressure. You know, had that on the back. Now we're accustomed to that shit. I'm not saying that it's not going to be, it will be a time worse than ever before, but all these trials, you know, they strengthen a man. So you think what you think you're doing, you're coming against, really, you're helping. You know, it's like someone thinking, if they spar you, or, you know, they help you lift weights, they help you push yourself further than you've ever run, they, got him. Well, guess what, next week, the guy's stronger.
Furthered it, man. Furthered the cause.
That's right.
Benefit that individual.
Nothing against the truth,
but for the truth.
There we are.
Go to the word miracles, actually, in that verse. Revelation 19 and 20. The Greek word is
Semaion.
Goes into a sign, mark, token, that by which a person or thing is distinguished from others and is known. A sign, prodigy, portent, i.e. an unusual occurrence transcending the common course of nature.
And that certainly is one. That's
right. Of signs portending remarkable events soon to happen. Of miracles and wonders by which the Most High authenticates that men sent by him or by which men prove that the cause they are pleading is the Most High's. But, you know, Esau does it on the left-hand side.
Right. But you see, he's still furthering the Most High's cause. You know, it is the Lord's see him. The Lord doesn't support you taking it, but he did put it there to test you.
That's right.
You know, or to try you. And if you're drawn out of your own lusts, you know, you're tested. So then they'll come and say, well, who hath resisted his will? Why doth he yet find fault? It's the Lord. He can do what he wants. It's his creation. You're not going to walk into a pottery club. The guy, he makes his pottery, he owns the place, he smashes it, he clears it up. What's the problem? It's his. Which also, these other nations are the inheritance of Yahushua. So for you as an Edomite to try see hit them, you know, really you're trying to steal from the Lord's inheritance.
This is Romans 9. verse 20. Nay, but O man, who art thou that hast repliest against Yahweh Shem Yahushai? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus?
Imagine a pot getting a mouth, jumping up and saying, man, why have you made me blue? I want to be green. That's ridiculous.
Right.
Nearly as ridiculous as you trying to reply against the Lord.
Verse 21. Hath not the potter power of the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honour and another unto dishonour? Esau Edom is of dishonour, and the Israelites of honour, right? Because we're righteous.
Even when we're in the wicked state, we're still known in the scriptures as the righteous. Our people as a nation are known as the righteous.
That's right.
This is Revelation 13 and 16. And he causeth all both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And you best believe what that is. Now you will find out very shortly.
That's right. Cause it's all. Alright.
So it doesn't necessarily say he's going to hold you down and force you. He's going to use his craft, his witchcraft, his persuasion.
That's right.
Comes to you with peace. His words were smooth than oil. His words were softer than butter. But guess what? War was in his heart. He speaks with a forked tongue.
That's right.
That's what the northern tribes of God said. He speaks with a forked tongue. He'll tell you one thing, and behind your back he'll do another.
You won't be able to work if you don't have that mark. You won't be able to function in society.
Just because it says buy or sell doesn't mean just because you're not a tradesman you won't be able to work. When you're selling, when you're clocking in, whatever you're doing, say you run, you do work for computers, you do some work in the office or whatever, you're selling your services. You're selling your service as an office worker, as a computer analyst or whatever you do. You're selling your service. So if you've not got that, you're not going to be able to clock in. You're not going to be able to do that. And there's, you might find, well, how are they going to do this? They'll find a way. It's a prophecy. We know in part, we prophesy in part. You can't come, well, I work at this place, I think that it won't. Alright, well, we'll see.
2 Maccabees chapter 1 verse 28. Punish them that oppress us, and with pride do us wrong. The Most High is gonna, Yahweh Shem Yahushai is gonna, step in, and lift up a standard.
That's right, he's gonna fuck you nations up, man. And you deserve it. Our people deserve it too. He's gonna fuck a lot of Jacob. But don't think you've gotten away. They think because their sins have reached them to heaven, that the Lord's with them. But it's like the analogy we always use is at a nursery. Everyone's running wild. Your son's following a multitude to do evil. Are you going to go and start whooping the multitude, or are you going to slap your son? Start smacking him, whooping. Of course, you can't go and just smack up to the next person's youth. How does that look? Well, of course you can discipline your own. The Lord made all these nations, but he chose one. Okay? So just because you've got away with a lot, you will finally, it'll catch up to you. You've got it on credit. You're sinning on credit. But soon you'll get your wages. You will have to pay. The wages of sin is death. That's right. Do you mind getting Baruch chapter 4 verse 25, please? That my apocrypha on me.
Baruch chapter 4 verse 25. My children suffer patiently the wrath that is come upon you from Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. For thine enemy hath persecuted thee, but shortly thou shalt see his destruction and shalt tread upon his neck.
So there it is. Now the same people that did it to us, it's coming to you. Right? And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of cool jakes have a problem with that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually, it says in the scriptures, a righteous thing to recompense tribulation to them that troubled you.
Tribulation, trouble.
This is Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 16. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity. And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. You did it. If you can't take it, don't do it. They say, that's what he says as well. The best lesson we can learn from religion is treat others how you ought to be treated. What the fuck did you do? It's like, how's the Lord going to treat you? mash you up, man.
Right.
And they went in, we went into slavery as a nation. So guess what they will? If there's any so-called righteous, any Eve that turned from wickedness that is against what his people do, you're still getting it. The prophets still went into slavery, did they not? So what makes you think that there's going to be certain, and our people, not our people, they're my people, but certain people, Israelites, that believe they're Israelites, they teach that there's going to be a certain amount of Edomites that make it, which that is folly, that is mad. Alright, so the Lord put in Israel into slavery holistically as a nation, but certain E get a pass. Certain of the wicked get a pass, although the righteous did not. Now that would be a false balance. Every one of them.
Lamentations chapter 4 verse 21. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom, that dwellest in the land of Uz. The cup also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked, right exposed.
So you wanted to push all this drink on all these other people, your philosophy, doctrine. You will drink of that wine, that wrath, okay, that judgment.
Verse 22. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins.
Which, what does that prove? That proves that the last captivity that we go through will be under Edom. Okay, how does it say it verbatim,
the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished. Oh God,
it's accomplished. Right, so if it's accomplished, that means it's done, it's finished, gone. There's no need for us to go into slavery again. Did you see that?
Shit, no.
Just up there. I'm sure that was a chariot. What do you have about? Show me outside. I wasn't sure if it was an airplane. There it is. But
see, that's the heathens. That's a curse for the heathens.
Yep, the curse that's covered the whole earth is it phrased as. But we're saying that it proves that this is the last captivity, man. This is the last captivity. If it's accomplished, it's finished, it's done, and there's not going to be another one. But you got man teaching we're going to go into slavery under the Arabs. That's the final kingdom. And then, and only then will it happen. We'll see, man.
We've been under the captivity of the Assyrians, man. Even some of the Assyrian kings, man, they were brutal. They were known to be brutal. Some of the names of these kings even struck fear into the minds of our people. All right.
And the Arabs under the around the Islamic
sub-Saharan.
Yeah. That's it a lot took us in East Africa, so on.
That's right. Tribes of Northern Kingdom, they were in the Assyrian Empire until they came to the uttermost part of the earth, right? North, Central, and South America, which took them a year and a half when they sailed from around the Horn of Africa. It took them, I think,
You got man saying, no, Asref is Africa. It was like it's never inhabited. It was inhabited, but certain places that they went to were never inhabited. Cause Jake loves that, that carnal doctrine. You can tell an Israelite just by looking at him. You might be able to tell by his countenance how he moves, but not by his physical appearance. A still picture of this guy, I can tell you. Man, I remember that guy when I had the Mamza debate. The moment he said, "Oh, I can tell you certainly ain't an Israelite just by looking at you." Okay, okay, Elder.
Why do you think you have the parable of the wheat and the tares?
Right.
Exactly.
What does that mean? They'll try to say, "Oh, it's talking about, works. It's talking about the righteousness or whatever." Right.
Jeremiah 30, or Jeremiah, which means he exalts Yahweh. Chapter 30, verse 23. Behold, the whirlwind of the Lord Yahweh goeth forth with fury, a continuing whirlwind. It shall fall with pain upon the head of the wicked. The fierce anger of the Lord Yahweh shall not return until he have done it, and until he have performed the intents of his heart. In the latter days he shall consider it. You know. So yep. Coming to the worst time ever. You know, in human history. It's gonna far surpass transatlantic slave trade, any other
Hellenization of the Antiochus.
That's right.
Which that was brutal.
Any other wicked and evil time there has been throughout this, you know, this earth, and heavy destruction is coming from the Lord.
This is Isaiah chapter 47, verse 1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. And you're seeing this man's power dwindling. Yeah, his kingdom is circling the drain.
That's right, man.
No one is really looking at Babylon, America, and saying, "Man, I want to go there. I would love to be that." So, like, what you said?
I was going to get this scripture, Jeremiah 51, verse 8.
Fine.
Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so be she may be healed. And there's no healing Babylon the
None
Great.
of it. We would have.
healed Babylon, but she is not healed.
Yes.
Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country. For a judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies.
It's not a bad idea for you heathen nations to flee Babylon and get out of them.
That's right.
Jake, naturally you'll be delivered. There's going to be a 1/3 of Babylon the Great deliverance. 1/3 of Israelites, Babylon the Great deliverance taking place. So Jake doesn't need to run. And if you're trying to escape judgment from Babylon, the Lord can find you everywhere. Believe it or not. He created the whole earth, the heaven and earth. Right, the universe, if you like that word. So you can't hide. But you nations, you won't be getting beamed up anywhere. So you might as well take a Boeing 747 all the way out of there.
That's right. Yeah, because destruction is coming to Babylon the Great, man. Complete annihilation, a lake of fire. You know, other parts of the earth will be hit with, you know, missiles. The land of Israel will be destroyed as well. Right, but Babylon is promised complete annihilation.
A lake of fire. Not a little stream of fire. Not a pond. Not a little pool. No, a whole lake of fire, man.
You won't even tell states apart.
No, man.
Nothing.
The besom of destruction. The land of confusion. There won't be borders. Oh look, it's Fireville. Next to Fire State. Oh look, it's Fire City. One big lava. And that'll be fire from chariots, fire from nukes.
That's right.
Fire from civil war, uproars of the people, spoiling, destroying one another. Then they're coming for the men of the Lord, spoiling and destroying them that fear Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. Them that are idle, being offered food, being given food offered unto idols. So when you have a high concentration of people, idols still camping together, what do you call that? CC. You're gonna see a CC. And I don't mean carbon copy. We're at that time, man.
Salvation nearer than when we believe, man.
There it is. So now we ought to wake up. We call it there.
Sure. I'll get the last verse. It's the book of 1 Kings chapter 8 verse 60. That all the people of the earth may know that the Lord Yahweh is power, and that there is none else. Let your heart therefore be perfect with the Lord our power, to walk in his statutes and to keep his commandments, as at this day.
Shalom. So we pray that's been edifying. Double honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that rule well, laboring the word and doctrine. All praises to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Ruach HaKodesh. Shalom.
Shalom.